Okay, we are live, and just as soon as she comes on, gives us the countdown, we'll play the intro.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Sunday to you. This is another edition of the Crescent Discussion Group, and also it is called, well, we used to call it the Real Interfaith Dialogue on the Global Patriot Radio Network on Blog Talk Radio, but we are just calling everything now the Crescent Discussion Group. This way I don't get confused when I start building all these shows and start typing everything. And it was just getting to be too much of a hassle to chase everything around and trying to name everything separately. So today we're going to discuss the topic of course, 9/11. Yesterday, our country, I don't want to say celebrated or recognized we recognized the 20th anniversary of the terrorist attacks that occurred on September 11th. 2001. And this afternoon, what we're going to do is we're going to remember those. We're going to discuss some of the motivations for those. We're going to discuss why they happened and what the outcomes have been since that fateful day. But before we do this, I wanted to play a video that our sister Connie had made. She makes the intro video. She makes all these videos. This is I don't want to say her penance, but this is just something that she does, and she does really well. So I want to play this video she made for us for today's show. Okay, thank you for that, Connie. Connie, what's the significance of that bell? Can you remind all of us, please?
That was the bell that they rang. It's like a remembrance bell for 911.
Okay, and they ring it
yesterday.
2,977 times. Is that how many times they ring it?
Most likely
Yeah. There was a number of people that were killed. When I was teaching, I would present or give the classes a presentation on what happened on 9/11 because a lot of the kids, especially last year, they weren't even born at that time. So what I've done is I've taken that slideshow that I used and I've kind of modified it just to kind of walk us through what happened that morning. So I wanted to share that with you. And if any of you guys have any comments at all that you would like to bring up or discuss during this, absolutely feel free. You're not being an interruption, and you're not being an annoyance at all. This is why we have a discussion group. We don't have a discussion individual, because if it was just me, nobody would be here except for maybe 3 or 4 people. That would include my close relatives, and even they don't like listening to me
Hey, Eric.
ramble on. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to test that out, just make sure that I wasn't annoying. Okay, continue.
That's annoying. Don't do that again. All right, let's get to. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right, let's get to the slideshow here, of course. All right, so let's just take a look and see what happened, of course. So this is on September 11th, 2001. You had 4 United States jetliners. They were hijacked by 19 terrorists, 19 hijackers. There's supposed to be 20. My understanding was that 20th guy, he overslept because he spent too much time in the club the night before. And they boarded 4 separate aircraft, 2 of which were in Boston, Massachusetts, one in Newark, New Jersey, and the other one at Dulles in Washington, D.C. And once the aircraft became airborne, of course, we know that the hijackers, all of them rushed the cockpits, and they used box cutters, of all things, to kill the pilots. They used them to, I don't know, well, nobody knows for sure how they did it. But what we do know is that a few of the pilots did have their throats cut, and the hijackers were able to seize control of the aircraft and fly those aircraft into targets within the United States of itself. And the first one, of course, was into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. 20 minutes later, a second one crashed into the South Tower in New York City. And then a few minutes later, a third one crashed into the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. And then lastly, the fourth one, once the passengers on the aircraft learned what had happened with the other 3 aircraft that had been hijacked in our country, tried to retake control of the aircraft and fly it to safety. But in the process of doing that, the aircraft crashed in a field outside of in Pennsylvania. Most people think that the aircraft was en route to Washington, D.C. To hit our nation's Capitol building, not necessarily the White House. The White House sits quite a bit lower, than the Capitol does. The Capitol sits up on a hill, and it would have been an easier, not an easy, but an easier target to hit than the White House. To understand why these targets were picked by Al Qaeda and Osama bin Laden, you have to look at what these targets represented. If you look at the World Trade Centers, they represented our economic power as a country, being the world's dominant economy in the entire world. You look at the Pentagon. The Pentagon symbolizes our dominance as a superpower within the world itself. And if you look at the nation's capital, that represents our democracy, the greatest, longest lasting democracy, not only in the world today, but in the history of the world. So these targets were chosen for very specific reasons because of what they represented the United States as. The date itself, many people, I guess, not all, but many people don't understand why this date itself was picked. September 11th, if you trace back your history, clear back to 1683, is where the Ottoman Empire was finally pushed back. There was some pushback from Europe for centuries. The Ottoman Empire, or since the Crusades anyway, or the fall of Constantinople in 1453, had been making more and more encroachments into Europe, Eastern Europe, and then into Central Europe. And it was on September 11th that they were finally pushed back, or they lost the battle at Vienna in Austria, and were pushed back from that. And from there, this caused or started a slow progression of death for the Ottoman Empire, where they finally collapsed in 1917, I guess, is the date that you can say is at the end of World War I, when they finally were no longer an empire. So when we look at what happened on September 11th, most of us can recognize that it was a day that changed everything, changed our lives forever in the way that we perceive many things. Many of us, I'm not many of us, all of us, I'm certain all of us here on the panel can remember exactly where we were and what we were doing that morning. Just as if you were to ask, let's say, for an example, you were to ask our grandparents, where were you when you learned that Pearl Harbor was bombed on December 7th, 1941? And they'd be able to tell you exactly where they were. I was doing such and such, talking to so and so at this place. They can tell you exactly what you were doing or they were doing. You could ask my parents, where were they when they learned that John F. Kennedy had been shot? You know, these are such significant events in our country's history that people remember exactly what they were doing and how they felt that morning. The morning of September 11th, 2001, I was an operations sergeant, and I was standing out in front of the building that I work in, having a cup of coffee of all things. And some soldier, I don't know who it was, he was in the battalion, I guess, walks up and said, "Hey, Sarge, did you hear what happened this morning? A plane has flown into one of the World Trade Centers in New York City." And my response, you know, most people think, "Oh, no, you know, we were going to run for the hills, you know, the world's ending or whatever." And my response was, "Whoops." Because I thought what I thought had happened was that somebody had gotten a hold of a little Cessna, was flying around New York City, got out of where they were supposed to be, and got caught in the fog, and then, you know, crashed into the World Trade Center. I had no idea what had happened. So I walked into the operations center, and I went into the Sergeant Major's office, and the Sergeant Major had his TV on there. And I was going to tell him what had happened, and he had already been watching it because the scenes of that North Tower burning were on the TV. And I was trying to take in what was actually happening. And before I could say anything, that second plane came flying in from the right side of the screen and impacted the North Tower, or the South Tower. And as you're watching this, trying to process what is happening here right before your eyes, it changes you. And I tell you, the reason why it changed me is because I was in the Army. I mean, this was what we did. And when we found out that the Pentagon had been hit, we knew we were going someplace. The entire installation that I was on, or that I was stationed at that time, just hardened up automatically, just like that. Every single gate was closed. There were fire teams and all kinds of equipment, let's just put it that way, stationed at each of those gates. The main gate to the installation itself stayed open. However, every single car that was coming onto the installation, what would have normally taken you just a second or two to look at the, you know, a little sticker that you had in your windshield, and they just wave you in, they'd salute you if you were an officer or whatever. Every single car was stopped, and every single car was searched. And if you didn't have the proper military ID card, you were turned around. It wasn't just, you know, letting, you know, normal people or everyday run-of-the-mill people onto the installation. You had to have a specific purpose coming onto the installation. And at the same time, getting off the installation, which normally took me, you know, 5-6 minutes to drive from where I worked to the nearest gate, or the gate that I used to go home, took me 3 hours just to get out to the front gate, which was not very far at all from where I was working. So the way that the military operated changed completely that day. The perception of the soldiers changed completely that day, because we went from a training footing, that, you know, we were, you know, been sent on deployments before, had gone to different hotspots in the world before, but this changed everything. Everybody knew that something was going to have to be done about this, and it changed our perception of, you know, what we thought, or how we were going to, or how we operated as an Army. Does anybody have anything they want to add to that? Take away from? Not all.
I'd like to share something. Is that okay?
Yeah, were you even born yet, Isa?
Yes, I was.
How old were you?
I was like 12, 11 or 12.
Oh, okay.
I was like a teen tween, maybe 13. It was like maybe 12, 13, you know. So I remember it. I saw it on TV. I remember that they said that they thought they were kamikaze pilots at first before they found out what was going on. It was really intense. It was a really intense situation. And what you said is true. It shook the entire nation. Yeah, since Pearl Harbor, I think, you know, which none of us were alive during that time. Oh, and I want to add, it was 1922 for the Ottoman Empire that it fell officially before 1923, but it's very close.
Right. Well, 1917 is the end of World War One, and they had lost World War One.
Sure.
That's why I used 1917. But yeah, you're absolutely right. 1922 would be the official end
You're totally right. That's fair.
of that savage empire.
It's
Okay, go ahead.
actually,
What were you saying?
it's just actually interesting. The Ottoman Empire was probably one of the greatest elements for the Islamic golden age. Like that's considered like one of the big golden ages for the Islamic world. And actually, Israel uses the Ottoman system of the Millet system there, and none of the Muslim world actually uses the Ottoman system, which is kind of funny. I think that's interesting because they did have a very sophisticated way of dealing with different ethnic minorities and stuff. So it's kind of really fascinating, the decline of the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah,
and
they killed them. It was called the Armenian genocide. Yeah, they had I'm going to have to agree to disagree with you on that one. That's okay.
Well, the Armenian genocide happened way after the peak of the Ottoman Empire. The Armenians were good with the Ottoman, because it's been several centuries. The Ottoman, but you're right. At the end, when Turkish nationalism rose, the Armenian genocide is real. It was horrible, and it is connected to the decline of the Ottoman Empire. I completely agree with that. That is literally what happened. But the Armenians overall had a good relationship until then. It was very bad at the end at that time.
You know, when this all happened before that second plane hit, I was thinking, I hope America finally wakes up to Islam.
How did you know it was Islam that day?
Because God gave me a dream and showed me. 30 minutes before it happened.
That's right. We've discussed this before. And what did that dream entail, if you don't mind sharing?
The first building was a boy. The first building was a boy on fire by his shoulders. And then I was pushed forward towards that. Let's say I was about 30 minutes up in the air high, about 30 miles away from that boy that was burning on his shoulders. And then I was pushed forward. And then my first thought was, yeah, I want to go help him. And then I was like, no, I don't want to go over there. And then I crashed right beside him, which was the second building. But in reality, the second plane was on the opposite side, because I was always going, God, why did you have me in that second plane in my dream? But I wasn't. So, but yeah. And then when I fell down and I was seeing the fire, that was the second building falling. Then Ron touched me to tell me, I'm going to work now, and kissed me goodbye. And I told him, oh man, I need to tell you my dream. And oh yeah, sometimes God will tell you what that dream means, and it was all over Islamic. So, but that's what my first thinking was: is man, I hope America finally wakes up to, the evilness of Islam.
Do you think we have?
Oh no, oh no, oh no. I mean, Biden proved that the other day.
And how do you do that? What were we talking about there?
Thinking that he can trust he can trust the Taliban.
Oh yeah, okay, right. Yes.
Jeez.
Well, they're professional.
Afghanistan.
No, they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right.
That's pretty sick to think that. Yeah, I agree 100%.
It's good to think. It's good to think the best out of people. But when you know what they read and what they uphold, then you go, whoa, wait a minute, I can't sit with this, and you have to be on your guard because they're obeying it. Not all of them, but those who do, the Islamists, No, America has not learned nothing.
Issa, you never finished your thought on that day.
Which day? On which situation? Oh,
September
about what
11th.
happened?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought
sorry,
you
I
were
was
going to
talking about
share.
the Ottoman. It was one of the most horrifying, terrifying things. I was in a boarding school and I saw it on TV, and it seemed like we were all going to
Hold on,
go home.
hold on, whoa. A boarding school. Is this like where you're a bad kid and your parents send you away, or what is this?
It was a school in New Jersey. It was a boarding school. Basically, what was happening was my parents were kind of separating. It was really difficult. I was at a friend's school originally, so we had family friends, and I was not doing very well at that particular school because of all the difficulty that was going on. And I wasn't bad. It was a difficult time in that situation. So then I went
All
to
right,
this.
I didn't mean to press on that, but I'm thinking when you send somebody to boarding school, they're just a turd of a kid, and you send them away.
Yeah, I definitely was not that type of person. It was just a hard time in that situation, and
Sure.
it wasn't doing good. Well, and then we had family friends that said, "Oh, you should go to this school," and the school was an intense school. Let me put it that way. It was a very intense kind of school.
Okay, so what were you doing that day that you wanted to share? That you
Well, I was on TV. We were watching the TV, and we felt that we were all going to have to go home and leave the school. You know what I mean? And yeah, it was a really tough.
like when you say in New Jersey, where in New Jersey are you talking about?
It was a place called Paulsboro, real small
Okay.
kind of Hicks village.
All right, so
in
this
New
isn't
Jersey. It
like
doesn't exist
Newark, right
anymore.
across the river or anything like that.
Yeah,
What
it was.
was it? This wasn't like Newark or anywhere near Newark.
No, it wasn't Newark.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anybody else wanted to share? Too far phobia. John? You see Dominic's with us today.
I
Go
was
ahead.
just going to say I agree with what Connie said. I don't think the West has woken up to Islam. I would go as far as saying the government. Now I don't know if it's on purpose or they really that stupid and really haven't learned. Definitely the left, or what I like to call the Democrats. The liberals. They are in love with Islam. They promote Islam. I mean, as far back as Bush. I mean, I could remember Bush saying that Islam was peace. Excuse me. But if you look at the back of the video, who's standing behind him?
Nihat Awad.
Muslim Brotherhood, aka
Right.
Twitter. Right. So, and then we know that I think under Obama, a lot of the terminology that we used to talk about Islam, all that was wiped out.
It's taken out of the 9/11 report. You're absolutely right.
Obama that they were trying to promote Islam under NASA. It was that was crazy.
Yeah. What do they call it? They said the program changed from terrorism or Islamic terrorism to combating violent extremism. And they would never. I mean, to look at how they did this. I mean, it's so stupid. Because if you're going to say, okay, you're combating violent extremism, what were the motivations for the violent extremism to begin with? Was this because you had a bunch of disgruntled, dock workers down in, in Massachusetts? Are they the ones that got upset and flew planes into aircraft into buildings or hijacked buildings? Was this a bunch of
Yeah,
school
you go to the
that
root.
didn't have enough?
Go to the root cause.
Yeah,
You go to the
wouldn't
root
do it.
cause.
They can't do
Why?
it.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're a bunch of quislings. That's why.
Yeah, they're cowards. I mean, while they're playing cowards, people are dying. People are dying like 911. That's what we're talking about. People died. My goodness, over 400 first responders died. And they just turn a blind eye. They won't call it that. Well, you have to call it that. Because if not, guess what? We're doomed to repeat this thing because we close our eyes.
Yeah. Well, that's
Jeez.
something that I'm going to go through in the slideshow. I'm going to spell this out. Did you have anything else that you guys wanted to add to that before we go on? Okay, let's go ahead and go ahead, Dominic. It's all right. Go ahead.
I was going to say just things like flying before 9/11. the amount of security that you had on like airports and flying was just like, so if you're just flying to just another destination.
Yeah, I'm gonna. As a matter of
It's
fact,
amazing.
I'm
Like
glad you bring
every
that up because I'm gonna be discussing that. Just hang on to that. Keep that under your hat because that's one of
yeah,
the items that I'm definitely gonna hammer on. Just in order to get on an aircraft today, and what we have to go through, the intrusiveness of this, and what we have to go through today because of what these knuckleheads did 20 years ago. Okay, so let's go back to why this happened. The architect of this, of course, was Osama bin Laden, but we have to look at what motivated him to do that. And in order to understand what motivated him, you have to look what happened in 1979 with the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, of course. And during this time, of course, we start funneling to this organization, let me put that right there, the Mujahideen, which was the freedom fighters. We started funneling Stinger missiles, and in doing so, the Mujahideen were successful in repelling the Soviet advances in their country, and it got to the point where the Soviet Air Force and the Soviet helicopter pilots were afraid to fly. And if your own forces are afraid to fly, then you have a definite problem. You have a definite mobility problem. You have a definite logistical problem, and the reason is that that's the way that you move large quantities of logistics and troops in mountainous regions like that. And the reason why the Soviet Union went into Afghanistan is because of sympathies for communism itself. They thought, well, this could be another perfect satellite for us. What they didn't realize is that the religion was much more important than their political leanings. And then right after the Soviet Union pulls out of Afghanistan, of course, you have the Persian Gulf War. This is where Saddam Hussein invades Kuwait, takes over the entire country in an afternoon, is essentially what happened. And after this, he poises his army on the northern border of the Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia at this time is producing 20% of the world's oil, or it had 20% of the world's oil reserves. And when you look at what makes the world go round, it's not solar panels and it's not wind turbine energy. It is gasoline made from oil. So if you disrupt the world's oil supply, you're going to disrupt the world's economies. And so the United States realizes this, and then we move our 82nd Airborne and 101st Airborne divisions to the border. These are light divisions. They would not have been able to stop the Iraqi military at this time because of the armament elements within the Iraqi army itself. We didn't have enough air assets in the region. They were basically there as a tripwire. To give us an excuse if later on that they did invade, that we can just come in and pummel them into the Stone Age. But we were able to stop them there, and then we were able to get enough assets in the region, armored assets into the region, and air assets in the region to finally push them out of Kuwait during Desert Storm. We bombed them back to the stone. It was ugly, and it got to the point where that highway heading north out of Kuwait, they called it the Highway of Death, where the Iraqi army is fleeing, and it's just these guys running these A-10s up and down that highway, taking out all of these vehicles. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. And when I arrived in Kuwait in 2003, I remember as we're driving through the desert out to where the army posts were, they were nothing but, posts with, made up tent cities out there in the desert. But these roads that we were driving by, they had all of the Iraqi military, all of the equipment that had been destroyed or captured, just sitting in these huge, they were just these huge, I don't want to say graveyards, military equipment graveyards, but if you look at like a place that keeps a whole bunch of wrecked cars, a salvage yard, just imagine a salvage yard and then multiply that by 100. And there were several of them out in the desert. So we completely destroyed the fourth largest army within about a month and a half. and the majority of it still sits in the desert in Kuwait today, being covered by sand. But what we require, what was demanded of this, and this is the key thing to understand, is why we went into Iraq, is that Iraq agreed to have UN inspectors go into their country to check for weapons of mass destruction, look for chemical weapons, to look for biological weapons, to look for a nuclear weapons program. And every time that they went into that country, they were thwarted every single time. And in order to ensure that the UN was doing their job, we kept a small contingent of our army and air force in Arifshan, which is a air base there in Kuwait. And this caused this joker, Osama bin Laden, to become very hostile towards the United States because of this. So he forms Al Qaeda, and they start attacking our interest, calling us the Great Satan, of course, in the United States and abroad. And this is because they want us to remove our soldiers from Iraq, from Saudi Arabia. And when we start looking at the justification, this is just one justification he uses. I'm going to be citing several other ones that he's used in a lot of his videos that he made to justify the killing of Americans and people who are not Muslims in Saudi Arabia and other Muslim countries around the world. Now, if you look at the number of attacks that were committed by Al Qaeda, even before 9/11, you can start with the first World Trade Center bombing. Most people don't realize that the World Trade Center was bombed in 1993. This is where you had, what was that blind sheikh? Who remembers the name of that blind sheikh? Does anybody remember that guy's name? But he was the mastermind behind it. And what they did was they took a truck full of explosives, parked it underneath the parking garage there in World Trade Center 2, I think the South Tower, blow it up, and end up killing 10, 12, 15, I can't remember the number of people they killed, but injured several hundred people in that, but it did not bring the buildings down. And then you had the Khobar Towers in Saudi Arabia. Of course, this is where they take a gas truck and park it right in front of these barracks here and light that up, killed dozens of our soldiers on that day in 1996. And then you had the U.S. Embassy bombings in Kenya and Tanzania, killed over 500 people, where these bombs went off almost simultaneously. So this is Al Qaeda at work. Then you had the 2000 USS Cole bombing right off the southern coast of Yemen, where that guy drove that little rubber raft right up to the side of the ship and blew a hole in the side of it, the size of a room. But the ship did not sink, but it did kill over a dozen of our sailors. And then, of course, you had the 2001 World Trade Center bombing, and then the Bali bombings in India, killing a couple hundred people there. Then you had the Madrid train station bombings to keep Spain, or to convince the government of Spain to get out of the Iraq war. And guess what they did? They did withdraw their troops. Congratulations, bunch of quislings. And then you had, of course, the 7/7 bombings in London, where they blew up that double-decker bus and a subway, killing over 50 people. I think it was almost 80 people died on that. So when you look at the number of terrorist attacks that were committed just by Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda alone, a lot of people don't realize this is what he was doing in the run-up to 9/11 and also thereafter.
Yeah, and while everybody is saying, the authorities are saying, Islam is peaceful, they're blowing us up, they're murdering, they need to stop saying that and start being honest.
Yeah.
Exactly. Man, Islam is peace. Oh yeah, really? Tell those 80 people, okay, tell those 72 people, okay, tell these hundreds, tens of thousands of people that have been killed just since 9/11.
Oh,
man,
I got the.
stop lying.
Thank you for bringing that up, Connie, because somebody actually went in and did the math yesterday.
Oh, okay, cool.
Somebody doesn't have a life. Okay, oh, I'm just kidding. Let me let me bring this up here. I went in.
Even making these videos, my heart was so sickened. I never told you, Eric, but man, it just. It just sickened my heart. Just even having to make that video. I mean, I know it was needful, but still, it was so sick. It sickened my heart all over again.
Yeah, to me, it would appear like it would be therapy. but then again, I'm not.
No, that was
I'm
not
not-
therapy at all. You know, it was needful, you know, and I did it and I bit the bullet, but man, no, there's no therapy in making a video like that. Even the little baby one that I made. No,
All right. Well, let me
not at
let me
all.
see. Let me add borders here this way. Okay, this way. So, and let me make this a little bit bigger. There we go. All right. So yesterday I went into the Religion of Peace. Now, the Religion of Peace, of course, is that website that documents terrorist attacks conducted in the name of Islam since 9/11. And as of this morning, there's been 40,003. They broke the 40,000 mark. Yesterday it was 40,001.
Wow, how
Yesterday,
great.
yeah, in 20 years. So that would
Jeez.
mean that, I mean, if you think about that, that would mean that every 10 years, that is 20,000. So that's 2,000 a year on average. And if you look here, it starts off 2001. There's 176 attacks. 1 year there was, let's see, 3,100 attacks, 3,000 attacks, almost 3,000 here in 2015. So it's about 2,000 attacks a year. And these are the number of countries. This one in the middle is the number of countries that are attacked.
And they're increasing.
Yeah,
Look at
it
that.
was up to 58 right here in 2012. It's at about 54. Say that again.
62.
Oh yeah, right there in 2017. Good.
Yeah.
You guys can see that. All right. Now look at the number of people who have been killed. Now, when we look at this number, this is the number of attacks, 40,000. But this is the number of people who have been killed. 267,000 people have been killed in terrorist attacks since 9/11. 267,000. Look at the number who have been injured. So when you put these two numbers together, this is over 600,000 people have suffered physically because of 9/11, or since 9/11, because of this ideology that has taught 600,000 people.
These are
And they want us to turn a blind eye. Boy, there is an echo.
I don't know what it is.
Somebody,
Bad echo. It's not on my side.
all right, I tell you what, let me go over here and see if it's.
Testing.
Nope, I'm going to go ahead and. Did I stop? Did it stop at all?
Let's see.
It's still there.
Yeah.
I
Let
don't
me
know.
go out and come back in.
All righty. All right, thanks. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right back. Whoops, sorry about that. I didn't mean to kick you off there. Okay, so let's go back and look, get through this slide slower a little bit more. So when we look at the attacks on that date, 15 of the 19 hijackers were from Saudi Arabia, which is supposed to be an ally of ours. And look what they used. They just used box cutters. They didn't use guns or anything. They used box cutters. And what is scary is the fact that these people attended United States flight schools. Now, people have gone back in and they've, oops, I didn't have this back up here. Sorry. People have gone in and they've, looked and gone down and questioned the people at the flight schools where these people were training. And when they're, oh golly, I can't take it right now. I'm sorry. When they were training, the person who was providing them instruction noted after the fact that these guys were not much interested in learning how to land the aircraft or learning how to take off. They were most interested in how to fly that aircraft and how to maneuver that aircraft. Well, when hindsight is always 20/20. So when you go in and you examine why they did this, or why they wanted to go to this flight school to begin with, they weren't interested in landing the planes. They weren't interested in taking off in the planes. The only thing they were interested in is to follow the plan that they had at that time, and that was to take control of the planes and fly them into their targets.
Hey, shouldn't that have been a red flag?
It was a red flag after the fact. But I mean, try to think about put yourself into that September 10th, 2001 mentality. Could you ever conceive of the fact that people would use a plane as a missile, as a guided missile? I mean, just to wrap your mind around that. And, sure, today it's easy to say, okay, well, look at that guy. He used that boat as a missile when it attacked the USS Cole. That guy used that car as a missile to drive it into the World Trade Center and blow it up from there. You can make that argument, but an airplane, you have to first off, get control of that aircraft. How do you get control of an aircraft that size to cause that amount of damage? This was inconceivable. And so when we think about what these guys did, they used, they used our flight schools against us. They used our planes against us.
They're using our laws against us now too.
Exactly. They used our protocols against us.
And we still want to proclaim mostly the lawyers, the presidents, the vice presidents, all our authorities want to still say Islam is peace. Bull. Islam is so peaceful. They're using our own equipment, our own materials, our own laws against us. Wake up, America.
Yeah, Dragon. She's able to see it right off the bat too. Okay, so what verses from the Quran have been used to justify this? What verses have we seen in
929, 9:5, 151, all the terror, I'll strike terror in the hearts of the kafir.
Okay, so does this sound like it's from a book of peace? Now you compare this to what Christ taught in the Beatitudes in Matthew 5, 6, and 7.
Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed, blessed, blessed.
It doesn't say anything about fight in the cause of God, and does that sound like something that's compatible with the Bible and what Jesus Christ taught?
That's right. If he did, we would have killed Muhammad a long time ago for being a pervert and for murdering.
Yeah,
hey, say it like it is, right? Yeah.
That was last show. You're right. Okay, what about this one? Go ahead, Dominic. I'm sorry.
It's ironic because they use of Surah 2:237 as the peaceful verse, and like next verse after it is like a real kind of violent verse after it. So the verses.
Which one are you saying? Which one?
Surah 2:237.
I don't. Okay. Well, a lot of people are citing verses here in the chat. So just let me zip through these verses that I have here, and I might have that one there. 2:16, fighting is prescribed for you. Oh boy. Soon we shall cast terror into the hearts of the unbelievers. That sounds peaceful, doesn't it? Those who believe fight in the cause of Allah. And when you Muslims travel in the land, there's no sin on you. If you shorten and you fear that you disbelievers may attack you, verily the disbelievers are ever unto you open enemies. So
wow, look at that. Wow, how great. See, they're doing it. Why American leaders say Islam is peaceful. They're believing this. Go for it. Here's the disbelievers, man, they're open game.
Yeah, look at that. And the disbelievers are ever unto you open.
Unto you enemies. Open enemies. That means you can kill them. Go ahead and kill them, slay them, use whatever you want. And they're using whatever we have. Our planes, our things, everything.
Yep, juxtapose that next to what Christ taught. Pray for your enemies.
Pray for those that test.
Yeah. Bless those who curse. Yeah, exactly. Can you compare that? Now, how can you say that Muhammad was how you love Jesus? I mean, how can you?
And their Lord is our Lord. Our Lord is your Lord. Oh yeah, really, right? Oh, why you're blowing us up, huh?
Okay, be not weak-hearted in pursuit of the enemy. Let's see here. What else we got here? 533 and the punishment. Oh, here's my favorite. Because I've been
that's one of my favorites too.
I've been told that I have been. Let's see here. The punishment of those who wage war against Allah and His messengers strive to make mischief. Right there, fit.
Oh yeah, mischief. Yeah, it's really mischief while we're trying to stop evil, stop destruction, but we're called mischief. Bull.
Yeah. Well,
this is your verse. This is your verse.
They've only waken us up. That's it.
I'm committing. What was that? Corruption. That's right. Corruption.
Yeah, corruption in the land. Yeah, you're a corrupter, Eric. How dare you try to stop evil? How dare you try to stop buildings from being exploded? How dare you?
Okay, what were you going to say, John? I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, I'm just saying this verse is for you.
Oh, thank you.
I'd like to add just today, In Egypt, the police catch a guy who married 10 years old girl and put him in the prison. I'm asking Muslims, who is doing corruption in the land? This guy in Egypt or Eric, who married 10 years old in Egypt, and police to catch him, put in the prison because they said that he raped this girl, 10 years old, or Eric Smith, who is doing corruption.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, Eric's trying to defend them. Read the rest of it, Eric. Read the rest. You're a corrupter. You're trying to stop evil, but you should be murdered and you should be crucified. Look at that.
Yeah.
That they should be murdered or crucified.
Now think about this just for a second. Think about that for just a second, folks. The God of the universe, the God supposedly of the Bible, the same God that supposedly inspired Jesus Christ to utter the words, is now prescribing as a punishment the same method. Well, they don't believe that Jesus was crucified, so I guess that's kind of out of the water. But he's prescribing crucifixion. If you think of a God that would prescribe one of the cruelest ways imaginable to kill a human being as a punishment for what? Something that is, John, I'm going to ask you, and because you're the one that knows what fitna means, can you give me a solid, consistent definition of what fitna is? Corruption in the land. What is that?
Fitna means doing bad things, attacking others. It's always comes with bad behavior. Doing corruption in the land. All of these under the category of fitna.
But not murdering the kafir, right?
Everything, murdering, stealing things from people. Like the guy that they catch him today in Egypt because he married 10 years old girl, 10 years old, and Muhammad marries 9 years old, and we call it in Egypt he's doing corruption or doing fasad, in Arabic fasad, and fasad or corruption is the same category of fitna.
Okay. Yeah, and what I wanted to, the reason why I asked you that, John, is because when we say, I'm asking for a consistent definition of fitna. So would fitna, okay, something that is against Islamic law. Let's see, Protestant believer. I'm trying to figure out how to send you a private message because he asked to come on the show. I'm sorry. Well, I'm just going to post it here. I don't care. Come on the show. And if people come on the show that, let's see here. Let me try it again. StreamYard. There we go. Okay. What I was saying about that is that you can make anything be fitna. If I want to have a glass of wine, would that be considered fitna, John? Could that be considered fitna?
Yeah, if you drink a glass of wine in the street in front of Muslims, yes, you are doing fitna.
So they can crucify
even you drink water in the street in Ramadan, yeah, it's fitna. He's doing fitna. You can't do that in Islamic country.
You said
drink
during
water
Ramadan.
in the street.
Right. All right. What about having a bacon sandwich?
Yeah. Oh my God, it's fitna. Yes. Not allowed. Yes.
Okay. That you get crucified twice.
You crucify your dead body for having a bacon sandwich. Okay. What if? Okay, would fitna be?
What if it's fake bacon? What if it's actually not actual? Like,
well, there's you can have turkey bacon, I guess.
Turkey bacon, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm talking about the real bacon, though. Okay, what about if I was to go to Mecca? If I was to go to Mecca and preach the gospel, say that Jesus Christ loves you Muslims right outside of the Kaaba, would that be considered fitna?
Yes, sure. Because religion it's only Islam.
Okay, so we're just talking about fitna can
how
be about
selfish.
Yeah, first you can go to Mecca. It's not allowed. You are not allowed to go to Mecca. But let us say you go in a trip for any for work there or something, foreign country, foreign company working in Mecca is not allowed to go. Till recently, you are not allowed. I know they check the baggages and check if you have a Bible. They throw it out. You can go with Bible inside Mecca. It's not
Okay,
allowed.
don't you have to have some type of identification card or some type of identification that you are Muslim, or you have to take the Shahada as you enter the Hajjaz there? I mean,
Look, all Islamic countries, the IDs or passports are all written with a religion. It's like item. It's written religion. Christian, Muslims. You know, they know you as soon as you go to from place to another.
okay, so they would be able to
I didn't
recognize
hear
me.
they ask, but if they catch you, it's a big problem. If you catch you and you're a Christian going to Mecca, it's a big problem.
What are they going to do? Crucify me?
No, but I think they will go to the court and you pay big fine, and they kick you out from all Saudi Arabia. It's you put you in a blacklist. You are not allowed to do that.
Okay. Yeah, and one of the things
And even the guy who delivers you to this place will be in a big trouble.
Just for transporting me there.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. That's okay. So let's see. Who was this?
Did they remove that? You know, where it says the kuffar goes here, the Muslims go here.
Yeah.
He said
so they
removed
removed them. I could almost see that the crown prince doing that because of his glorious city. You know, he's going to have everybody come there and educate and everything. He's trying to bring everybody else into the modern times, you know. Yeah. So
what's
maybe
so
in future things change. Maybe future things will change.
What's so crazy is the actual Muhammad may have never actually been to Mecca. Like that actual, like if you kind of go like Dan Gibson's research and they kind of recent kind of stuff, there's no actual it kind of puts that whole narrative to kind of.
This is what we were talking. This is exactly what we were talking about last night on Dr. Kufarphobia's shows last night. We were talking about the lack of evidence or the inability to get any type of evidence, archaeological evidence, for Mecca today. He's on Ask the Kafir. Okay, that's right. It's Ask the Kafir show. Is that
Ask the Kafir? Ask the Kuffar.
Yeah, Ask the Kafir show.
That's right. Come to the people of the book. That's us.
Okay, let's jump back over here to the slideshow. All right, so 533.
Read the rest. You didn't read the rest.
Oh my gosh. Okay, crucified or their hands and feet should be cut off on opposite sides, or they should be imprisoned. This shall be a disgrace for them in this world, and in the hereafter they shall have a grievous chastisement.
How wonderful! Wow.
Okay, so
because you look at this doctrine and you say this is evil doctrine, they go, oh no, they're waging war against Muhammad. Let's kill him, let's crucify him, let's murder him, let's cut him out of the land, let's cut his feet, his hands, let's disgrace him. You know, how sick is this?
Because it's basically
that's why this is one of my favorite verses too.
Because it's basically the whole of Surah 9, isn't it? You have the whole of Surah 9, like violent verse after violent verse after violent verse. It's like,
oh yeah.
But this one is terrible because they actually do it. It's like it's not just.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you compare cutting off, I mean, does this? I mean, to prescribe the cutting off of hands and feet by God as a punishment. Now, this is in light of. I get it. You know, we can go. Oh, let's go back to the book of Leviticus and go back to the book of Deuteronomy. Okay, when we start talking about the differences in covenants, suppose.
And see, they use that. See, once again, they're using our own Bible against us, and that's what they're trying to do. They're saying, well, they did it way back when. See, they use anything to murder you or subjugate you. So once again, they're using it.
It's willful.
Yes, it is. But they're so ignorant. They're so ignorant that they truly are using our means and even our Bible against us. So our laws and everything else that I said. So once again, you can add the Bible in there. They use it. You know, I mean, Jesus never said, go ahead and cut his hands off. Okay, John, you said it wrong. We have to cut your foot off now. Oh, we got to crucify you now, Matthew, because you did wrong. Jeez.
Yeah. This is what they say.
That's just what they say. And that's why we say that Islam is murder and Islam is not of peace at all. To them, peace is if you do what they want you to do. That's not peace. That's tyranny.
The problem is they have verses with peace, as the Maccayan verses, but after that at Medina, we see the real face of Muhammad.
Yep.
Most people don't understand
they go to the peaceful verses. No compulsion in religion. Yep. I have my religion and you have your religion, but all of these religion verses are abrogated.
Yeah, they've been abrogated.
Most people don't. Right, exactly, Connie. Most people don't understand the rule of abrogation and the dichotomy that where you look at the differences between the Meccan verses where he does not have any power, and verses that and compare that and contrast that to what the verses had or came out to be when he was in Medina. And these verses that we're going through here today, these are all, I would say, without exception, Medinan verses. Invite him in until there's no fitna. There it is in 839. It's not for a prophet that he should have prisoners of war until he made a great slaughter.
Wow, how great. When did Daniel great slaughter? Where did Jeremiah, where did Isaiah, where did Ezekiel, where did Micah do a great slaughter? That is an affront to God Almighty himself and his people.
Ezekiel had the prophets of Baal slaughtered, don't you know?
That wasn't his doctrine. That was when they were going to see who's God.
Right. It was agreement. It
was an agreement thing. That's exactly right.
And then, of course, we got chapter 9. So when the sacred mounts have passed, then slay the idolaters wherever you find them. What else we got here? Fight against them so that Allah will punish them by your hands, and disgrace them.
Great. Wow, isn't that wonderful? Islam is peace.
9:29 is our favorite.
There you go.
Fight those who do not fight.
Fight to kill. The word is fight to kill. It's kutila. It's fight to kill.
Okay.
It's fight to murder. Fight to murder those who believe not in Allah, nor the last day, nor hope that was forbidden.
Okay, that would forbidden. Be you. That would be you little uppity woman. And then they go ahead. I'm hearing myself.
You're echoing.
Somebody's okay. That's better. All right, and then you go to the bottom, and the last part of it. It says that until they pay the jizya. If they choose to submit, okay,
give us money.
Pay the jizya.
Yeah, give us money. Give us money if you don't want to murder with us. If you don't want to fight to murder with us, then you pay us money. That is nothing but thugs.
Well, it's called extortion, is what it's called.
Yeah, it is. It's called robbery. Those that came before me were thieves and robbers. They're robbers. They're trying to steal people's lives.
Okay, Dominic wanted to say something, and then Ed was going to say something. Go ahead, Dominic.
With the actual Mecca and Medina verses, those are an Abbasid thing. So essentially, if we kind of exclude that, is there other violent verses that they simply just take out, or that they exclude because it's essentially their so-called Mecca and Medina verses? If we kind of flood that narrative out the window, because it's not exactly you get Quran like highlighted with Mecca and Medina verses in it. You don't have the Mecca and Medina verses in like green, but no, I like all the violent verses. I mean, Surah 9 is just like terrible, absolutely terrible.
Well, we got more. I got more coming.
Yeah, Ed, good. Keep on getting us pissed off,
Ed,
man.
Hold on. Ed, go ahead.
I was just going to say I deal a lot with a lot of forums on Facebook, a lot of Muslims in there too, and they're all about this. They're all about this.
Before you, are we Facebook friends?
I don't know.
Dude, okay. Let me I want to send you because I send my Facebook friends the link, the StreamYard link, so you won't be coming here and saying, "Hey, can I have the StreamYard link in chat?"
Okay.
In the future, reach out to me on Facebook and send me a friend request if you don't mind.
Okay. All right, I can do that.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
because
So
the Bible is a book of love compared to like the Quran. I mean, it's like, isn't it? You can look at the Bible and you have all the, because I think we had a Muslim cab driver kind of take me home from work, and this what like I got him to say like this, that compared to the Quran, the Bible is a book of love, isn't it? Like you like the actual differences.
well, it's completely different when you start
Yeah.
reading the New Testament, and then you start comparing it to these Medinan verses that we find in the Quran, and you try to say, okay, this message is from the same God. Really?
Yeah.
You're going to try to make that argument after Christ establishes the new covenant in his blood for us, and you're going to try to say that this is now a new message from God? And they want us to believe that, oh, we love Jesus. No, you love, they you know what they love? They love this, I've been thinking about, everybody always thinks about writing a book. And I've been thinking
Yeah, write
about,
a book, Eric. Write a book.
Nobody will read it. I'd be just
Oh
better
yes,
making
oh
YouTube.
yes, we will.
Well, I've
Write a
been
book.
considering writing a book on how Muhammad has usurped the role of Christ and inserted himself into that role, and providing examples of where he has done this. Not only he himself, but also his believers have done this.
Oh yeah, replacement theology.
Something along
They've
those lines,
replaced
yeah.
Allah too. I mean, to them, they're Allah. If they kill, it's Allah killing. So they're killing. So what, does Allah go to jail too when we take them to jail because they broke our constitutional laws?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get back to this. Okay, 9:30. The Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah. No, they don't. No, they don't.
Yeah, they
Liar.
detestable say no, they
The
don't.
Christians say the Messiah is the son of Allah. Okay, yeah, we do say that, but the Jews don't
Not
say
Allah.
Ezra.
Not Allah.
We had
Allah's a fake God.
We had a certain Muslim on our show made that assertion, and I asked him about it. I said, where can we find the Jews calling Ezra the son of Allah? And he goes, oh, I'll find it. I'll get it and I'll post it there. And then he wanted to get into some of the argument. And I'm like, well, hold on. While you're making this argument, I'm going to find it for you. Because if it's there, you would think that it would be out there somewhere. It's not there anywhere. Even in the most generous forms of extrapolating or interpreting scripture, you cannot find any examples of Jews worshiping or recognizing Ezra as anything close to how the Christians view Christ. But anyway, that's a theological issue. But look what it goes on to say. These are the words of their mouths. They imitate the sayings of those who disbelieve before them. May Allah
We can't see it.
destroy them.
We're staring at your beautiful face.
All right, sorry. May Allah, because of what they've done, destroy them.
Yeah, great.
Well, at least
Islam
isn't
is
the
peace.
Muslims doing it. All right, go to 973. Oh, prophet. I'm thinking military again. Strive hard against the unbelievers and the hypocrites and be unyielding to them. Why? Because their abode is hell, and evil is the destination. What else we got
see,
here?
Islam
988.
using the Bible again.
The messenger and those who believe with him strive and do what? Fight with the
Fight to kill. No, it's
right.
fight to kill. It's kutila. It's fight to kill.
Okay, I believe you. All right. And there's for all them all good things, and is they will prosper. 111. I've seen this in chat already. Allah hath purchased of the believers their persons and their goods, for theirs in return is the garden of paradise, for they fight in his cause and slay and are slain. Real nice. What else we got here? 123. Oh, you who believe, fight those unbelievers who are near to you and let them find in you harshness. 47. Those who disbelieve follow falsehood, while those who believe follow the truth from their Lord. No, they don't. So when you meet fighting jihad in Allah's cause, now remember, what is the purpose of jihad? Jihad is to establish the religion of Islam. That comes right out of Reliance of the Traveler.
Yep.
That's the purpose of jihad. Those who disbelieve smite at their what? Smite at their necks. When you have killed and wounded many of them, then bind a bond firmly on them. Okay, take them
and
captive.
take them as captives.
Now
wow,
look at this part right here. Smite at their necks. Now, one of the things that I love about American history is that one of our branches of service we call leathernecks. We also call them jarheads, but I won't mention that fact. But we call them leathernecks because that's a bad joke. Sorry, but anyway, during the Barbary pirate wars, they would put straps of leather around their necks when they would go into combat against the Barbary pirates, which were Muslim. And the reason is because they were aware of Quran chapter 47 verses 3 and 4 here, that they were supposed to smite at their neck. So if you have leather in there, that provides you additional, you're not going to be able to withstand a direct hit. However, it would at least enable you from getting your head cut off indirectly if somebody is kind of sloppy in their swinging. But this is where we get that nickname leathernecks because of Muhammad and Allah. Thank you, Muhammad and Allah, for that little tidbit in our nation's history. Chapter 48:29, Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, and those with him are hard against disbelievers and merciful among themselves. Surely Allah loves those who do what? Who fight in his cause. You want to be loved by Allah? Go fight for him. Don't you know?
And that's a lie. Go back to that first one, please. Okay. Muhammad is a messenger of Allah, and those with him are harsh, ruthless towards the disbelievers, and merciful among themselves. No, they're not. They're not merciful among themselves. They're constantly at war with each other, in a sense.
That's so true. You are so spot on with that.
Because they can't stand each other. One says, "Hey, you're not being honest," and then the other one goes, "Yeah, we're going to go to war with this."
There we go.
So where's the merciful? They So Allah's a liar. They're actually proving Allah is a liar.
Yeah, I agree. And when you look at the difference, you're talking about the different sects, Shia and Sunni. They hate each other more than, I don't know.
And even Sunnis and Sunnis, and Shias and Shias. Yeah. They're constantly bickering each other.
Look at XYZ's post here. The Marine Corps hymn comes from the Barbary Pirate Wars, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. Very good.
Tripoli, yeah. Woohoo.
Yeah.
And we're their children and grandchildren, so look out. Yeah, because this is getting ridiculous now.
All right, hold on. We just got a couple more to go. Surely Allah loves those who fight in his cause. Of course he does. And then
he's getting them killed. He's actually murdering them. Actually, Allah is murdering them.
Dominic mentioned this one before, I believe. And kill them wherever you find them, and turn them out from where they have turned you out. And al-fitna, disbelief or unrest, is worse than killing, which is the corruption of the land. But if they desist, Allah is forgiving and merciful, and fight them until there's no more fitna, which is disbelief and worshiping of others along with Allah, meaning Jesus Christ. And worship Allah, or worship is for Allah alone. But if they cease, let them be no transgression except against, what is that? As Zalman, the polytheist wrongdoer. So in other words, if you're a polytheist, and a polytheist would be somebody who associates persons with God, i.e. Christians who associate Jesus with God, that's what they're referring to there. Okay, so that's just a taste of some of the verses that I went in and I just dug out real quick, threw up there, just to give you a little idea of where this ideology to drive planes into buildings comes from. What does it mean to fight those who don't believe in Allah? What does it mean to fight those who cause corruption in their land? And when we look at how broad that term can be, fitna can be, you can make it be anything you want. Anything from having a glass of wine to preaching the gospel at the Kaaba, to all the way to living in Saudi Arabia as a Christian. So fitna can mean a lot of things, and causing corruption, or in somebody's case, being in a classroom and having the ability to tell children that their prophet was 54 years old when he married little Aisha when she was 9. That is intolerable. even be in that position to do that. You don't have to do it, just be in that position, and that's corruption.
Yeah, but that was last show. So this is Quran 2:191. It's
You're right.
Yakatalum, fight to kill.
Okay.
Until they fight you there, until Yakatalum, fight to kill.
Here's a couple of
2:191. They just use the word fight, and you know what? That is so disturbing. They want to study. They want to tell us that we don't know Arabic. It is fight to kill, and they just write fight.
And there
No.
are people that won't analyze it
Yakatalum.
like that. They won't analyze it like you have, Connie. They won't. They refuse to, and they won't engage in discussions like we're having here today. An honest and open
And that's why we
discussion about-
educate them.
That's why we keep going.
Mhm.
Okay, I was at the 9/11 memorial a couple years ago and took some pictures while I was there. This is taken in. This is underneath those fountains that they have out there where the Twin Towers used to stand, where the foundations were. Okay,
Yes.
below this is directly below those. So right up here would be the fountains, right above them, and these are the foundations for those steel girders that held up the
building.
The North Tower, I think, is this one. I can't remember
Okay.
exactly. This right here is the stairwell that people were coming down in the South Tower, I believe it was. It might be the North Tower. It's the same tower. It's either the South Tower or the North Tower, one of these two.
Sure.
And people, they found all kinds. This is where they found debris and all kinds of bodies of people trying to get out of the building when it came down on top of them. This was list of what is one of the fire engines. Remember, over 400 first responders died that day going into those buildings to rescue those people.
Wow.
400 of them. And this
Yep,
is
more than 400.
this is what's left of one of the fire engines. Now, this picture right here is my favorite, and I don't want to say favorite because I love it the most. This is my favorite because it's the most significant. Now, these beams are. This is about 1.5 feet by 2 foot, and the metal is about 1 inch thick. And this is one of those girders that held up the Twin Towers. And right here is where the nose of that first aircraft struck. Now look how it bent these beams. That is the amount of force that went into that building. And this is the girder. They found the girder where that first plane had hit, and look what it did to the metal. It just bent it. And to think about how thick those beams are, it's just incredible.
One other thing I'd like to mention is that a lot of people, when they try to say that there's no way that this could have happened, I've asked some engineers about the weight of that aircraft and all the people and everything on top of it. Could that building sustain that weight set on top of it? They said absolutely not. Couldn't do it. Just the weight.
Right.
Of that aircraft with the people in the aircraft and all the luggage and everything. If that aircraft were to be set on top of that building, it wouldn't be able to hold it.
Really?
Yeah.
Without doing any type of structural damage or heating up the metal and compromising the rigidity of it, you couldn't.
Yeah, it wouldn't be able to hold it then.
Wow.
I mean, it
wasn't built for that.
No.
They're not thinking, okay, can we put a 747 on top of this building?
Well,
engineers don't think like
of
that.
People. Loaded full of people.
Yeah.
They're
engineers.
This is what I was going to address in that video that we were analyzing last Tuesday night, is that there are people who are saying, well, there's no way that, these things had to be a controlled demolition because it pancaked coming down.
That's a load of crap.
You're right.
Yes, it is.
It is, because when you think about, because the argument is as well, JP5 jet fuel cannot melt metal, and this is true. It cannot melt metal. It does not burn hot enough to do that. But you don't have to melt the metal. The only thing you have to do is get it hot enough to where it would bend, to compromise the rigidity that it has in it. And once you do that, you bend it, eventually it breaks. And then when it breaks, all that weight that it was supporting comes down on that, you have that inertia, and it just keeps coming all the way down. And that is a fact of engineering that they've proven. But to listen to this imam make this excuse is just inside job.
Because
Well,
he will not
they're just
say that
trying.
Islam is murder. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
they're
trying to
trying.
defend his Islam,
Yep.
which is a
And
bunch of crap also.
the other thing that a lot of people don't even realize when you have to take into consideration, a lot of the extra structural members that join the main members together were also compromised, and when that happens, it's over. It's a done deal, and that definitely happened in those buildings.
Well, it just irks me to no end that people say that this was some type of conspiracy.
Yeah,
by our
that other
government.
people were murderers except those 19
Right,
that
and
planned.
and you're
the
absolutely right. This
19
is a way
Islam,
to
yeah.
deflect. It's a way to deflect the
Yes.
attention away from who did it and the
Mhm.
motivations
And why.
surrounding it. And whose broadcast was I listening to? I think I might have been Al Fadi. I might be wrong on that, but this idea that it was an inside job or it was some type of governmental conspiracy originated in the Middle East. Of course, it's not going to originate here in the West because we can clearly see what's before our face. But this idea that it was an inside job or there's some type of conspiracy was almost immediately being preached in these Middle Eastern countries, and it was memory that was able to identify these speeches and get them to everybody to see where they originated from. So this idea that it was somehow wasn't based on what Muslims had done was a way to deflect the attention away from what Muslims had done. It's the exact opposite of what we saw. Okay, let's take a look at another direction here when we looked at what their common belief was. And it was, of course, in the idea that they were waging jihad, they would go straight to heaven. Because remember, the ideology of Islam clearly teaches that the only way that you can be guaranteed to go to heaven is to die fighting in its cause. It isn't because you're always going to be left guessing, have I done enough good deeds in order to outweigh my bad deeds? And that is a scary supposition if that is the way that you believe that you are to attain some type of eternal salvation with God. This is what astonishes me. Well, it doesn't astonish me, I guess I shouldn't say that, but what amazes me is how corrupt what it will do to somebody's soul. And as a matter of fact, it was Al Fadi, because Al Fadi was talking about how he himself was motivated as a youth to go and fight with the Mujahideen, with Osama bin Laden in the early 1980s.
Yeah, he was his neighbor. He knew the guy. Mm-hmm.
So here you have an ideology that does not have that blessed assurance that we as Christians we enjoy and that we sing about, or we should at least be singing about every single Sunday. Now 19 of these guys thought that they were dying and they were going to go straight to heaven to be with their Allah by killing themselves and killing infidels in the same manner. And one of the things that I always did was I would ask, well, who's won this war on terror? And I think who was that? Dominic was going to bring up what we had, what we do or have to do today. When you start with, where did this idea of having to put metal detectors in airports really begin? Well, it began with the successful hijacking of aircraft by the PLO in Israel. So we had to start putting, metal detectors in airports. Then the reason why you have to take your stupid shoes off when you go to get on an aircraft is because of this guy, Richard Reed, where he had put a bomb in the sole of his shoe. He was trying to blow up an aircraft. I think it was like Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. They're on their descent into Detroit, which would be Dearborn. And people saw what he was trying to do, and they beat him unconscious for it, which he deserved. And then you have to take your belt off. Well, why do you have to take your belt off? Well, the hijackers use box cutters. And if they use box cutters, well, what can you put in your belt buckle? Well, you can put a knife in your belt buckle. So you have to take off your belt in order to show or prove that you don't have a knife there. And that is one of the most humiliating things that you can have an individual do in front of other people, is sit there and take their belts off.
Mm-hmm. I went to a football game yesterday, Alabama and Mercer, and I walked through the metal detector and I forgot I had my steel-toed tennis shoes on. Oh boy!
Oh really?
Oh yeah, they pulled me off to the side, said, "Come over here," and they made me take them off and shake them out, and they scanned them and everything, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
No kidding. Wow.
Yep.
And then what? Could you put them back on, or did you have to go home?
Yeah, I was good. You know, they just wanted to make sure that's what it was, and I wasn't carrying, a bomb in my shoes. And I even said, "Roll Tide," you know.
Did they lose?
No, they won.
Oh, how unfortunate. Okay, what else we got here?
We're number one, brother.
Okay, why do you have to go through those body scanners? Well, because Einstein here put a bomb in his underwear, and fortunately it did not explode, but it only burned him. Well, it burned him pretty badly. You would have to. I couldn't imagine the pain involved in that. But you go through body scanners today because you have to be able to check under somebody's clothes to make sure that they're not carrying a bomb underneath their clothes. And then if you talk about these body scanners here, they're very, very intrusive. I mean, you can actually see the anatomy of people's private parts on these scanners. What about I think all of us have had a bottle of water or a container. Like I always carry one of these on a plane when I travel. Let me see here. It's just a water container, and if you can't have over, I think it's 4 fluid ounces. Well, why is that? Well, it's because these jokers right here devised a way to try to put explosives into either it was I don't know if it was a baby bottle that they had tried doing that with Tang orange juice. Yeah, there you go, Connie. Exactly.
Yeah.
With Tang orange juice or whatever it was. It's just sick, the things that we have to do because of these people today. So no liquids. You can refill it once you get in there. But and the thing, what's crazy is that the TSA doesn't even allow you a place to dump it out there. That's what really jerks my chain, where they won't even allow you to, we have a sink here where you can just dump it out and give you back your bottle. Now, one of these bottles is, it's only, $10 or whatever, but I mean, it's $10 for crying out loud. Put a sink in.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we see a lot of these things going up today: barrier walls, ways to stop automobiles, keep people from driving down sidewalks and running people over. Why do you think we have these in place today? Why is this? Is it because of some Buddhist going on a rampage, or
Nope,
some
Islamists.
Hindu chasing his sacred cows down the street or something like that? No,
Islamists. Yeah.
exactly.
The religion of peace.
Yeah, you got it.
Everybody's pieces. One of the things that I always used to like to discuss was the fact that my wife and I were stationed at Fort Bragg, and we drove up to D.C. back in 1987 or so, and we parked the CAFRA car out here right in front of the Capitol building, walked up these steps into the building. Nobody asked us a question. Got out our little Kodak Instamatic 110 cameras, took all kinds of pictures, went into the Senate chamber, sat down, listened to them run their mouths for a little bit, got up, walked across the Capitol over to the House of Representatives. Same thing, took all kinds of pictures, sat down in the chambers, the chambers there. Nobody said boo to us, walked back out, got in the car, and took off. Nobody said a thing. You can't even get within 3 blocks, park a car within 3 blocks of the Capitol building today. You can't go into the Capitol today unless you go through the visitor center and subject yourself to the same sort of intrusive searches that you have to go through in order to get on an aircraft. And then
Same thing in a football game.
Yeah, there you go. Just go to a football game. You have to go through a metal detector, and then they pull you off to the side, and well, because you're an Alabama fan. But in this case, they don't do that because you're an Alabama fan. They do that today because you're an American citizen. And if you're an American citizen, well, then you'll comply. Why? Because of what these clowns did on 9/11. If one of the thing that angers me the most is that about 10 years ago, my wife and I went to New York City, and we went out to see the Statue of Liberty, which means freedom. And we were standing in line, and of course it's July and it was hot, and so you get a little hangry when it gets hot, and you have to go into this big bubble tent, and in the bubble tent, of course, you don't know what's coming, but as soon as you get in there, what do you see? Nothing but a big line of metal detectors, people taking stuff out of their pockets, putting it in tubs, taking your shoes off, and taking your belt off. And when I went in there that morning and was forced to take my belt off, I wanted to beat that guy with that belt. And I'm not a violent man, but the amount of anger that I had, because I was thinking about, where am I going to? I'm going out to right here. I'm sorry. I'm going out right here to see the Statue of Liberty. In order to do that, you got to get on a little ferry boat to go out there. I'm going out to see the Statue of Liberty, and I am being forced to take my shoes off and take my belt off just to do this. And I got to thinking, I said, you know what? These clowns won. These clowns have
Yes, they did. Yeah.
forced us to change our entire way of life.
Oh, yeah.
Sacrifice our freedoms.
Total
because of what they
humility.
did, because they absolutely hate our way of life.
They won on the first day, because guess who was in the air when that happened?
Oh, were you flying that day?
Over the United States. Yeah, when George Bush grounded all the planes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Prince of Saudi was in the air over our country. Mm-hmm.
Who was?
The Prince of Saudi. There was a Saudi Arabian aircraft flying over our country when George Bush grounded all the aircraft.
And what they do with that Saudi aircraft?
They allowed him to continue flying.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
You didn't know that?
Well,
Nope.
No. Where were they flying to?
Yeah.
They were flying to Washington.
Oh my goodness! So they get free course,
Mm-hmm.
and all the Americans have to come down.
Yeah.
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah. Wow. I
did
thought
not
you
know
guys
that.
knew that.
No,
Yeah.
I did not.
I'm fact checking you right now. Saudi
Hey,
plane 9/11.
didn't we also fly the family of bin Laden out of the country?
I heard that we did that. Yeah.
Oh wow! How great! How
I'll tell you.
wonderful we are! Wow!
That
Look at
happened
us.
after the fact.
Man.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, hijackers by national.
Good luck with the internet and Google. Yeah, by the way, good luck with the internet and Google.
But didn't George
Yeah, I know.
Bush say that Islam is a religion of peace right afterwards?
Yeah.
Because
Sure.
was it-
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yes,
'cause
definitely.
wasn't it Obama who let let some of the Muslim Brotherhood in through diplomatic immunity actually into the country? So they actually let. So yeah.
Oh,
So,
they worked in his administration.
So all of us had to go through security whilst like some of these terrorist people have actually
They
got
passed
without.
through.
Yeah. It's
Yep. Oh yeah, I know it. We're actually sitting under Islam right now, for the most part.
Yeah,
You
a
know,
lot of
we're
folks don't
sitting
realize
ducks.
how close we are to.
Oh, but we're already there, baby.
Yeah, I think we
You
are
know.
too.
Yeah, we just have to stand up and say, no, this is an American country. We have a constitution and we have our people.
Well,
Now here's something that. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't think you were talking about the same thing I was, but I think that he's alive now, and I think he's already doing his thing.
You think who's alive now?
Who's that?
The son of perdition.
UBL?
No, the son of perdition.
Oh,
A lot of
Son of
people
Perdi-
want to.
Antichrist.
A lot of people
okay.
want to call him Antichrist. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree. I thought you were
No,
saying.
we weren't talking about the same thing. I was talking about Islam, pretty much ruling America.
The same thing. Yeah. Same thing.
Well, are you guys familiar with the Holy Land case?
No.
The money laundering case.
Well, yeah, it started with the money laundering case, but they also had I think 200 co-conspirators, where Kerr was one of them.
Right. Yeah.
And that came at the end of Bush. So they had all of these people that were co-conspirators. Now, I understand the main guys from the Holy Land, they were arrested or kicked out of the country. But here's the thing. We never pursued those 200 or 200 plus co-conspirators like Kerr and all these people that were linked to the Muslim Brotherhood. Because when Obama came in, he kind of swept it under the rug. And also this guy, which I believe he was murdered. If you're familiar with the book called See Something, Say Something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's been on this network before. What's his name? I have his book. I have that book.
Oh, that would be, that's Phil Haney. Well, he passed away. He was murdered. I don't think he died of natural cause.
No. They said that he committed suicide. Lee Haney. There you go. Lee Haney.
Yeah, he didn't commit suicide.
Well, they said he did. And he kept saying, "Look, if anybody ever says I committed suicide, don't ever believe them." And so what did they say?
Yeah.
He committed suicide. Yeah, they found him. I think he was shot twice in the chest or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you can shoot yourself twice in the chest. You're right.
Right. Like Lewis and Clark. William Clark was found with 2 bullet holes in him. They said they committed suicide.
He pretty much exposed the government submission.
That would be a good book to go over in a show, Eric.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out what I did with it. You guys keep talking. I have it here someplace.
What's it called, John? What's the book called?
Say Nothing. See Something, Say Nothing.
Yeah, it's called
See Something, Say Nothing?
Yeah, it's called See Something, Say Nothing. A Homeland Security officer exposes the government submission to jihad. This is when the government started changing all their material, the FBI material, the Department of Justice, the State Department, where you couldn't implicate that any of the terrorist attacks or any of the terrorist plannings had any relationship with Islam. Now, this guy did a lot of analysis for the Homeland Security Department, which I think took over the Customs and Border Patrol.
But weren't all 19 skyjackers Saudi Arabians?
17
all
of them.
19?
17 of them. 17 were, 2 were from North Africa.
I thought it was 19 out of 21.
No.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
Well,
I understand
but
15 of them.
But I guess what I'm trying to say here is the majority of them were Saudi?
Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And we didn't do anything to the Saudis.
No, we kept buying their oil. We needed their oil until
but you know, guys, and Eric, you'll find this interesting. I was doing some research into Saudi education system, and what they found is that the Saudi Arabian education system, from their young, start teaching them that non-Muslims are the worst of creatures, especially the Jews. Sure. It just fills the children with hate from the beginning. Let me repeat: the Saudi education syllabus teach the kids to hate the West from the beginning. And of course, when they grow up, what do they become? If they don't become terrorists, what do? They grow up and they become imams, and they teach this stuff to people from other Muslims from other countries who are training to be imams. They come to Saudi Arabia, go to the Saudi universities. They learn this hatred, and they go back to their countries and preach it to their people. And guess what? American oil money is being used to fund a lot of this education system. I know it might sound far-fetched to a lot of people, but this is exactly what's happening. The U.S. buys Saudi oil. Saudi is very rich as a result. Saudi uses its riches to spread its religious ideology, which is Wahhabism, and and it's very extreme. It's not a mistake, as you said, that the majority of the 9/11 hijackers were Saudi. And guess what? The U.S. kindly, politely, cap in hand, asked the Saudis to change their education system to, be a little bit less violent. And the last thing I heard is that there's been no change in all these years since the US kindly, politely asked them to change it. I'm telling you, people, this thing is not going to end right now. And because this Wahhabism is coming from their source documents. And unless you repudiate these documents, at least until you realize that they're crap, you're going to keep having these problems.
Yeah, and until you can recognize, I mean, this is Sun Tzu, Art of War. I mean, if you cannot recognize your enemy, or if you are prohibited from recognizing what motivates your enemy, you're going to. There's no way that you can win. And when Phil Haney, this guy that wrote this book, him and there were a couple other people that used to provide briefings to the CIA, to the FBI, to federal law enforcement agencies, and to local law enforcement agencies, the motivations for, these state agencies or local agencies. And then all of a sudden, under Obama, that shut off. This Phil Haney guy that wrote this book, Say Something or See Something, Say Nothing. He worked in. He was I can't remember if he was like in the Department of Agriculture, something very innocuous.
Yeah, he worked for the Customs and Border Patrol.
Okay, it's something that you wouldn't consider too terribly important. Well, Customs and Border Patrol, I guess you can say that's important. But they asked them to start purging their databases of anything that dealt with Islam. And this is when he started speaking out. He's saying, "What do you mean you're going to go ahead and have us purge everything that's in our databases that mentions the cause of all of these attacks? What you're doing is you're essentially saying, well, we don't get to understand the motivations of our enemy." And for that, he ends up resigning, and then he writes this book, and then in the process of writing this book, he becomes very popular in all kinds of different circles. And of course, we've had him on this. I haven't had him personally on any of my shows, but he has been on this network with two other people, I believe it was, and he's talked about what happened where he was. And here's what's really weird about this guy. This guy has no training in law enforcement. All of his training was in biology, tracking the behavior of bugs. Think about this: tracking the behavior of the bugs and what motivates them to pursue food sources and preserve the community. And what he did was he made an application of the motivations and tracked how these motivations would lead insect communities to, flourish or whatever. And he used that same type of philosophy on the 9/11 hijackers, and he was able to connect a lot of dots for law enforcement and the federal government. And for that, they whacked the guy. Somebody whacked him anyway.
Okay, so let me read something very quickly for you.
Probably Hillary.
Let me read something very quickly. Saudi Arabia religious textbooks promote intolerance. This comes from September 13th, 2017. Textbooks disparage Sufi, Shia, label Jews and Christians as unbelievers. Saudi Arabia's school religious studies curriculum contains hateful and incendiary language towards religions and Islamic transitions that do not adhere to its interpretation of Sunni Islam, Human Rights Watch said today. The textbooks disparage Sufi and Shia religious practices and label Jews and Christians as unbelievers with whom Muslims should not associate.
Who's your source for this, George?
This is Human Rights Watch. This is Human Rights Watch. A comprehensive Human Rights Watch review of the Education Ministry produced school-produced religious books for the 2017 school year found that some of the content that first provoked and widespread controversy for violent and intolerant teachings in the aftermath of the September 11th, 2001 attacks remains in textbooks today, despite Saudi officials' promises to eliminate the intolerant language. This is a quote now, a direct quote from Sarah Lee Whitson. As early as the first grade, students in Saudi schools are being taught hatred towards all those perceived to be of a different faith or school of thought. Mm-hmm. Middle East Director of Human Rights Watch, Sarah Lee Whitson, said the lessons in hate are reinforced with each following year. The research was part of a broader investigation into Saudi officials and religious clerics' use of hate speech and incitement to violence for an upcoming Human Rights Watch report. The reviewed curriculum, entitled Al-Tawhid, or Monotheism, consisted of 45 textbooks and student workbooks for the primary, middle, and secondary school education levels. Human Rights Watch did not review additional religious texts dealing with Islamic law, Islamic culture, Islamic current commentary, or Quran recitement, and it goes on.
Well, here's another point.
Eric, just to reiterate what George is talking about, can I share this link with you? That it's an Iranian lady that speaks about how they're trained from kindergarten to hate, and it's 3 minutes long, but you can just play like even the first 45 seconds, and she lays it right out there. And I sent it to you in our private chat.
Okay, let's see here.
Okay, well,
I mean, these women are crying out. They can't stand the regime of Islam no longer. I mean, you know.
Okay, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Who's?
Oh, that was me. No, I was going to say that I don't know if a lot of people know this, but one of the issues that we also have is that there's a lot of money from Saudi and all the rich oil companies, oil countries, Muslim countries, where they've infiltrated our colleges, especially the Ivy League colleges, where they want people to see their version of Islam. Basically, they want to bullshit us. And of course, these colleges want the money. They really don't care. So we're being taught, or I should say, we're being lied to by Saudi Arabia and all these Qatar and all these rich oil Muslim countries who kind of pretty much have a stronghold in our higher institutions of learning.
Yeah, and that's how they get a foothold, is they start pouring money into our colleges and universities, and then when they pour endowment money into there, then they turn around and say, well, we'd appreciate it if you would not teach this and not teach that. And the next thing you know, you have educators, people in teacher education programs coming out of there that have no idea how Islam spread. The only thing they know is that the textbook that they are teaching from, that, oh, by the way, the textbook company, 40% of the textbook company is owned by Saudi Arabian interests, private petrodollar money or dollars being poured into that business and influencing what goes into that textbook. So they have no way of understanding. Okay, I was going to say something before I played Connie's video here.
Yeah, and she makes that point too, and says that this hatred is a business.
Okay, I have on my Kindle that book. That's why I couldn't find it. Because I knew I've read the book. I thought, well, why the heck it isn't on my shelf, and it's on my Kindle.
Yeah, I just bought it.
Yeah,
I bought the hard copy, and I'm going to get the Kindle too.
Okay, you're going to enjoy it. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen. Share, add to the stream. Bada bing. All right, now what part do I need to play of this? You want me to play the whole thing?
Start at 0. Well, man, if you could, it's awesome, man.
fanatic Islamist leaders and dictators just to control other nations.
That's
Born
Annie.
in a country called Iran. Our government from the day we go to kindergarten say death to Israel, death to America, death to UK, and so on, just to promote hatred. And this this type of business has been exported to US, and just like the lady who was talking before, Masca or something, they have been brainwashed that Palestine and Israel have wars. Khamenei, who's the leader of Iran, if you check his Twitter account, he constantly promotes Israel hate, and this is not what Iranians value for. We hate his decisions, this dictatorship, and they're using that as a business, just saying, oh, Israel is dangerous, so they can stay in power. Once you make a fake enemy, you can stay in power. And they brought all this hatred and all the Zionist issues that they have all over US, and these they brainwash Muslims from Africa, Asia, and everywhere. They promote this hatred, and people have to wake up and see the truth. The country, Lebanon is destroyed, Iraq is destroyed, Iran is destroyed. They are trying to mullahs of Iran are saying they are going to free Israel. 42 years they're killing all these civilians around Israel, but they're not even getting to land of Israel, which is all business. So this has to end. People have to rise up and wake up and stop this war and hatred that is spread among people, us hating each other just because our leaders and dictators and corporate greed want to sell weapons, want to stay in power, and media is lying, brainwashing, and lobbyists of mullahs. NIAC system in US going around to schools and universities and promoting this hate toward Jewish. Me being born in a Muslim country and Muslim society around me, you're considered as Muslim if you're born there and so on. And as you grow up, you realize how much mistake and how much error, and then you end up saying, "Oh, I don't hate anyone. I don't hate Jewish. I don't hate Christian. I don't hate this." But the government wants you to hate this, and they're bringing this to US. This Masca lady does not even know or has not even been to Palestine, but she already hates Israeli, which is not a right thing. Once you know the people of our other countries, you realize that there's no difference between you and them. So this hatred has to end. We have to stop media from all this scam and lie. This is the business of war of media. And that's it. That's all what I wanted to say. And I want peace between the people and people to rise up and find the truth before you hate a nation or a country or a people. We can continue wars forever and hatred forever. This is not going to fix anything.
All right. Well, that was pretty. I like that.
Yes.
Connie, where did you get that video?
I sent it to you. It's a lady's testimony. So yeah.
Okay. Now there's a lady that
I know who that is.
Another channel that's on a channel. Jamie Glassoff. I don't know if you guys know who he is. But
oh yeah, I've got his book. It's kind of tough to read, man. Wow.
Yeah, well, was it Islamic Psychopath or something like that?
Yes.
I can't
remember. Yeah, it's a tough read.
But he has a lady that guest hosts with him by the name of Annie Cyrus. And
yeah, she's awesome.
Annie is from Iran, and she was forced into a marriage when she was 12, 13, 14 years old. And her husband beat her to the point where he broke bones. And she went to the magistrate. She went to her dad to ask her dad to do something about it. His dad's like, no, you're married now, even though you're a child. And then so she went to the magistrate, and the magistrate says, well, you need to be a better wife. That's the protection that she got under Islamic law, under the Sharia. So
good thing her grandmother helped her to get out.
Yeah.
Praise God for us grandmothers.
Yeah, today's Grandparents' Day, oh, by the way.
Woohoo! I'm 5 times a grandparent.
See how savage these people really are?
It's not the people, it's the ideology.
Yes, that they follow. Yes, sir.
Okay, so the ideology broke her bones, really?
No, the ideology influenced and changed that person to break her bones, because the Quran specifically says a man has a right to beat his wife. Now, We in the West, when we look at this, we say this is garbage. We don't even pay it any attention. But these people believe it's divine word from God. Understand the difference. We think it's garbage, but to them, it's divine words. So if the divine word says you can beat your wife, how can you, if your system is based on the Quran, you can pass no law that says a man shouldn't beat his wife? You can't pass a law like that.
Well, remember, God specifically said He wrote His law on our hearts. Did He not?
I agree with you,
Yep.
but I'm just saying that the God that they're preaching is not the God that we preach. It's
I
a different
understand
God.
that, but still, God wrote His law on our hearts, so they know this is wrong what they're doing.
That's right. Whether they like it or not, it's written on our hearts. That's
Well,
right.
this is where I keep coming back to this common argument about Muhammad being 54 years old and then having
With a
sex with
9-year-old
right
girl.
with a prepubescent 9-year-old little girl. And just as you're absolutely right, Ed, is that this we know intuitively, because God's law is indeed written on our hearts. We know that is wrong. That is wrong to do that. This is why I have always insisted that these people suffer from a form of spiritual blindness. They are demonically blinded from what we should know intuitively. It is wrong to beat your wife. It is wrong to beat another human being for disobeying you because Allah says He has the right to you. It is wrong for a 54-year-old scumbag to crawl on top of a little 9-year-old prepubescent girl, but they can't see that.
Mm-hmm.
They can't understand that. Why? Because they suffer from this, and I'll go to my death proclaiming it. They suffer from a form of spiritual or demonic blindness where they cannot recognize this because they actually think that Muhammad was a prophet of God.
Yeah.
They can't see the truth.
Well, it fills their lust. Hey, great. I get to feel my lust and God is down with it. So, it's just encouraging them to work the sin that's on their heart that Jesus said, hey, this stuff is bad.
And even in Second Thessalonians 2 verses 9 through 12, that they, this straight up says that they will not ever acknowledge the truth, even though they know it's the truth.
Yeah, and I just want to make the point, Eric, and everyone on the panel, that no one is saying that all Muslims are like this. As many of the critics of Islam keep pointing out, most Muslims are better than Islam. Most Muslims are better than Muhammad.
Indeed. Indeed.
They're better than their prophet, right?
They're
Yeah.
better than
I agree with that 100%. Sure.
Yeah.
Cyrus being Cyrus being a great example of that.
Amen. Yeah, who was it that was saying the other day that they heard this as a child and they were like, man, this is gross.
I think it was
I forget
Adam.
who was it?
I think it was Adam when he was.
Oh, okay, yeah, and he was a Muslim child hearing some of the stuff and them going, oh man, this is gross. No, it wasn't Adam.
Emmanuel Shields.
Oh yeah. I mean, even children were going, whoa, wait a minute, this is bad stuff.
Yeah,
so I mean, the children. I mean, I've heard many testimonies also where they end up telling their parents, why do we have to hate the Jews? Why do we have to hate Christians? Their heart is not of that. They've been captivated into it. And some of them, are going for it, and some of them are going, whoa, wait a minute. Like my son calls a lot of this stuff raw evil.
Yeah, of course it is. Guys, and maybe we could explore this one day, Eric. That beautiful summary, that very, very well thought out summary that Sam Harris gave, where he said, look, how it works is this. There's a hardcore of jihadists who want to kill non-Muslims every day. They might not be the majority of Muslims, but there's a hardcore. And around that hardcore is another group called Islamists, who are not bent to go and blow people up every day and stuff like that, but they also want to change you using the political system. After the Islamists, you have the conservative Muslims who they adhere to all of the strict conservative Wahhabi arguments, but they're not going to blow people up. They're not actively in politics. And then around those are the cultural Muslims. So the core is jihadis, surrounded by Islamists, surrounded by conservative Muslims, surrounded by cultural Muslims. So they're not, and guess what? One person can move from one category to another at any point, because many of them become more devout over time.
What percentage would you say, or does he say, that are just simply cultural Muslims, non-practicing, don't pray, but just identify as Muslim?
I don't recall him giving a specific percentage, but the point he was saying is that all Muslims are not the same, and they're different, and they can change from one category to another over time.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would ever try to make the argument that all Muslims, it's a monolithic movement. Of course not. And a lot of I fear a lot of people get caught in that trap, saying that, well, all Muslims are terrorists, or all Muslims believe the same thing, and they simply, just like all Christians are not as committed to their faith as some people are. But if you look at people who are more committed to Christianity, what does that cause them to do? It causes them to love other people, want to do things for other people. And then if you compare that to what somebody who's completely committed to Islam and what they do, the two are just completely diverse.
Night and day.
Yeah, it's night and day.
Light and darkness.
A good Muslim follows the Quran, period. A bad Muslim does not, and in a lot of cases, you'll see the good Muslims calling the bad Muslims non-Muslims.
But look at this.
Yeah, because they won't chill with them. They won't hate with them.
Hypocrites.
This individual that goes by UA in the chat, they've been here every week, and I appreciate you so much coming and sharing your experiences. I don't think. Let's see. Yeah, okay. He says he's an atheist. Okay, well, we'll work on that. But look what happened to him. Look what happened to him. It says, I got hit with a Hoover.
Wow.
It's not funny that you got hit with the vacuum cleaner. Okay, I'm not saying that, but the abuse. I mean, the admitted abuse that people that people go through when they actually do challenge the system. When you do challenge the Sharia, I mean, look what happens to you. I mean, look at all the poor punishments there. And when we start talking about, what happens when you buck up against the system, when you dare challenge anything that has been made lawful through rulings or whatever. Well, you can be called an apostate, for crying out loud. And what was the punishment for apostates? You're not getting beat with a Hoover vacuum. They're killing you, or they can kill you anyway.
So here's another man. Yeah, so here's another man that was a child, in a sense, asking, why do we have to kill? Or also, in a sense, why do we have to hate people? Why do we have to hate? I mean, these children are speaking out of godly wisdom.
Okay, look what Nim Grace put. Okay, what she's asking for here is more funding for the schools, because if they had to hit him with a Hoover, can't they afford rulers?
Hoover was the closest thing.
Yeah, the closest thing they grab and hit with. Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to touch on one last thing before we run today, was this textbook, the funding of textbooks in Saudi Arabia. We also see the United States, or at least at a time before Trump, saw the funding of textbooks in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip in Israel, where these textbooks would have a geography. A textbook would not have a picture of Israel on a map in the textbook, and we were funding that as Americans. And I think word got out to enough people to say, hey, look, this is just absolutely nuts to be funding an ideology like this. So when we come back and when we start circling back to the main idea today of, what caused 9/11, what was the ideology, what was the motivating factors behind 19 people getting up, and they got up that morning. Think about this. They got up that morning knowing that they were going to die. They knew they were going to die, and they still went ahead with it anyway. That is their resolve. the resolve of this ideology to die in the cause of fighting jihad. And jihad, of course, is the purpose of jihad, according to the Islamic law, is to
90 seconds.
Let me read it here. I want to make sure I don't get it wrong, because if I get emails every now and then reminding me how stupid of a man I am. Okay, jihad means to war against non-Muslims and is etymologically derived from the word mujahada, signifying warfare to establish the religion. Okay, make sure I had it right. That's the purpose of it. And that's what these guys were trying to do, is they're trying to establish Islam in the West. Unfortunately, I think our country...
seconds.
Unfortunately, I think our country is forgetting what happened on that September morning 20 years ago. And the only thing I think that we can do is pray that
they're not forgetting.
Stand up.
Eric, they're not paying attention. They got their heads in the sand.
Okay, hold on. Let me, okay, folks on BTR, thank you. God bless you for coming. And we will see you next week on the Crescent Discussion Group.
Oh, the Canterbury's.
Actually, that's Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey singing "Alrighty Then."
Yay, we're continuing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they haven't forgotten. They're not paying attention. I mean, to them, it's just like nothing happened. Let's close our eyes, keep your head in the sand while we take over your country. And that's not going to happen. You know, it's not going to happen. You know.
I'm reading through a lot. I'm trying to keep up with you see, this is where I try to keep a discussion going, and then I try to write anyway. I'm trying to keep up with the comments that are made here.
Lead us,
No, they're doing a good job here in chat.
I posted, for your information, guys, I posted that the Human Rights Watch report I was reading from in the chat. So anyone who wants to read it, it's right there.
Thanks, George.
Okay, and John said he just had to leave now too. So, all righty, what else we got? Anybody else have anything else to add to the show before we go?
I just want to say that I don't know about it will never happen. Maybe not in our lifetime, but if the liberals keep having their way and we keep being blinded to what's actually going on. I mean, we know what the plan is. One of the things that the Holy Land came out is we have the, I don't know, you want to call it the manifesto from the Muslim Brotherhood, exactly how they were going to take over the country, use our laws against us.
Exploratory memorandum where we were going to sabotage the house of the infidels by their own hands. Yes.
There you go.
So it's not a matter. It's not a matter of never. Now, I will say it's never going to happen in my time, but I don't know. 50, 100 years from now, they're very patient,
right?
And all they have to do is reach 51% of the population, and that's it.
No. They just need to reach 10%.
Yeah, but that's not.
Look at guys. Please look at France. France is the Western country with the largest percentage of Muslims. Not the largest number, the largest percentage in the West. And look at the problems they're having over there. Look at the problems they're having. They don't need a majority. They don't need a majority. They need a critical mass, I'd think, of about 10%, and then you're starting to have
there's a scale. You're absolutely right, George. There's a scale that if you follow what happens when you only have 1%, 2%, 3%, maybe, then you have this lovey-dovey, Islam is peace, you be your religion, to us be ours, and then you get up to around 5%. Here you start having people vying for some type of official recognition, having halal food served in schools or in prisons or what have you. But you're right, when you get up to around 10 to 15%, this is where you start seeing terrorist activities and violence occurring to assert the religion. So I'm going to have to find that.
But here's the difference between the United States and France.
Religionofpeace.com.
What's it called?
Religionofpeace.com.
Is that on there, Ed?
I think so. Yes, I think so.
Okay, let me jump over to that website then.
There was like a report that was it 10%, 20%? Okay, the guy who knows.
Okay.
You know, I also had a dream about 7 years ago. I was on a high building. I saw the tower. There was the water to its right, and it twisted and fell opposite of the water. And I didn't even know that it was even by water. I had to ask Ron. But yeah, France is doomed. I would not be surprised any moment now that they get fully attacked.
Well, as long as America has a Second Amendment, I believe that if the Muslims would start pulling that crap, it would not be a good day for Muslims. Because I don't believe we would put up with that crap. Now, I could be wrong. Now, if they take away our guns, then yeah, well, we're just like
they ain't never going to take away our guns. No.
Never say never.
Yeah.
No, I am saying never because I'm speaking by faith. No, we are supposed to be speaking by faith. They will never. And the thing is, you know, what's happening right now, it's not so much, I mean, at this moment, it's not the Muslims, it's the liberals. Yeah. Muslims are just buying their time.
But see, here's the problem. It's not going to happen in your lifetime. Definitely not in my lifetime. But for us to say never, where we see the direction of the country, where we see the left, don't be surprised that there comes a point where we'll turn like Australia. Turn in your guns, and everybody happily turned them in. Now, I'm pretty sure they're probably wishing they had it. Because look at what happened or what's going on over there. It's a complete police state. You cannot do anything. But as long as, well, I mean, in the United States, I think Muslims are, 2%? But like I said, as long as we have the Second Amendment, if they ever started doing that, I think it would turn into cowboys versus Muslims. I don't think Americans would put up with that crap.
Well, I for one wouldn't.
Something's happened to that website.
Well, I got here's a copy of that. I looked on Religion of Peace and I couldn't find it. So here's a copy of it.
There's something happened to that website. It's not what it used to be.
Can you go to the way back machine?
Okay, so as long as the Muslim population remains around 1% of any given country, it will be regarded as a peace-loving minority and not as a threat to anyone. The United States has 1%, Norway 1.8%. You get up to 2 to 3%. Began to proselytize from other ethnic minorities and disaffected groups, major recruiting from the jails and among street gangs. This is what we're seeing today in our country. And if we're only it's over 1% today. I know it's over 1. Well, that would be 3 million. They say there's maybe 5 million Muslims.
That's actually old because Canada, I believe, is close to 5% today.
Okay, so Canada is at 1.9% according to This might be old. This might be old data, but the percentages are not wrong. They do not. The percentages where it talks about what occurs once they attain that amount of population. Let's see. You get with 5% and over. Exercise an inordinate influence on the proportion to their percentage of the population. They will push for the introduction of halal, just like I said, food, thereby securing food preparation jobs for Muslims. They will increase pressure on supermarket chains to feature it on their shelves, along with threats for failure. And this is what we see with just the Cadbury eggs, for Pete's sake, a couple years ago. You guys remember that problem where we had this? They were trying to go after the people who made Cadbury eggs because they had pork products in the chocolate of some sort or something went along with that. And they were trying to boycott Easter eggs, for Pete's sake. Okay, and then 10% and over, they reach 10% of the population. They will increase lawlessness as a means of complaint about their conditions. Paris car burnings is a classic example of that. Any non-Muslim action that offends Islam will result in uprising and threats. We've seen, look at the Muhammad cartoons and the murder of Theo Van Gogh, and we see a lot of this in Israel We see a lot of this in India today. And don't forget Beslan, Russia, where that occurred. Let's see, 20% and over expect hair trigger rioting, jihad militia formation, sporadic killings, and church and synagogue burnings. Ethiopia, 32%. 40% you will find widespread massacres, chronic terror attacks, and ongoing militia warfare. Bosnia, okay, I've been a crap hole. My gosh, that place sucks. And then 60% unfettered persecution of non-believers and other religions. And we saw that in Lebanon. Well, there's Lebanon right there. So Lebanon's most definitely over that now.
Yeah, I was about to say, look at there.
Yeah, and then let's see here, unfettered persecution of non-believers and other religions, sporadic ethnic cleansing, use of Sharia as a weapon, and jizya to subjugate them. Let's see. Oh, yeah, the tax placed on conquered infidels. There we go. After 80%, state-run ethnic cleansing and genocide. And we find that in Pakistan. We find that in Iran. The Gaza Strip doesn't have anybody that's not Muslim in it. Egypt, John Isaac, who just left, would be able to
UAE.
Yeah, United Arab Emirates, sure. Yeah.
I found the website. Had to use DuckDuckGo to find it.
Okay. Do you have it in private chat? Post in the chat.
I put it in the chat, but you have to use DuckDuckGo to get to it.
Oh yeah, really. Oh yeah, I've done this. Watch this. Okay, let's go to Google and type in religion of peace. I think I've done this on the show before. And the religion of peace, Wikipedia, sure. The website, where is it? No. Oh, George W. Bush. Look at that. NPR. Okay, wait a second. Okay, let's go to page 2. Hold on, it might be in page 2. No.
I posted the link in the private chat.
Oh wait, I don't have this. I'm not sharing my screen. I'm sorry. I'm not. Okay. Okay, but you don't get. You're right. You don't get to that until like the 4th page. It's not on here. Let me see. Page 3.
Yeah, Google kicks it back.
Yeah. Oh no, page 3. It's on page 3. Page 3. You have it. It's the first one on page 3. The religion of peace. So yeah, use DuckDuckGo, and then you said that this was. Would you say this was about? Well, okay. That's just the about page for that. And if you look at that page today, let me go back to that page. The religion of peace. We're sitting at 40,000. Let me drag this over here. Go ahead and share. There we go. 40,000 attacks. Went over 40,000 attacks yesterday. It was 40,001. Sad. Very sad.
Yeah. Another point, guys, that I don't think that we've probably taken a close look at is the rejoicing that took place in so many Muslim countries after the 9/11 attacks. There was great rejoicing in the streets in many of these countries when it took place. The other thing to note also that I found subsequent to 9/11 is because of the backlash, the cover-up, the lying that these were not Muslims, what I heard, or these names that they were given are the names of dead people. It can't be true. It wasn't Muslims. It was done by the Jews. It was the Jews,
of course,
who did 9/11.
I
mean, it's
about first quarter kickoff.
Lives.
You know what's really interesting? On September 12th, 1918, 10,000 Armenians were killed in Azerbaijan, Baku. You see right there. So September 12th is a day that will live like September 11th.
Here's September 11th in Palestine, in the Gaza Strip.
Yeah. Yeah, look at the kids.
Yeah, they're adults today.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They're in their late 30s. If they're 10. Well, they start them, like the lady said, from kindergarten to hate. It's the business of hatred. Here, free food. All right, Kaffir's got murdered.
Well, that's the what do they call it? The custom when you celebrate the death of an infidel or a victory for Islam, you hand out candy and cake. Yeah, that's the custom.
And you know, there was a lot of Muslims that were in those buildings too. So they're rejoicing over their own people being murdered. You know, it's mindless, ungodly, seeds of Satan. And that's why the division is there, because God made that division.
It wasn't Palestine alone, though.
Oh, of course not.
No, and that was just the first one that I.
That's just one video. Yeah.
I just pulled it up.
How many people died, Ed, on September 12th that you were talking about?
10,000.
Oh, geez. 10,000.
Yeah.
And we lost 2977. Wow.
Yeah, I've been to Azerbaijan, so
New report
what's really interesting
separate groups
is their,
in Jersey celebrated as the.
Sorry, go ahead, Ed. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just saying that Azerbaijan is a Shia country, not a Sunni country. They're Shia.
So the Shia were attacking the Sunni? Boy, I'm echoing again. I don't know what's going on.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Twin Towers fell. The investigation by NJ Advanced Media found multiple witnesses to the separate gatherings on 9/11 that went largely unnoticed amid the unfolding chaos. According to the report, a now-retired police captain said he cleared a rooftop celebration of around 25 people from an apartment building with a view of the towers. Trump has not backed down from his debunked claim that thousands of people cheered from Jersey City as the towers collapsed. Also, neighbors told NJ.com they saw the FBI take several residents of the building into custody for reasons that are unclear. However, other Jersey officials have said the supposed celebrations were nothing more than urban legend stemming from the wild rumors swirling on 9/11.
Yeah, I remember that.
Wow. Urban legend.
Trump was making it up when you have people that are testifying that they did see these celebrations going on that day.
And
I wonder if they were celebrating down in Houston that day. I'm wondering.
I want to stand corrected. It was Turkish troops, so they would have been Sunni.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, folks, I got church in just a little bit, so I'm going to run. Thank you, everybody, for coming today and with contributing what you did. People in chat today, you guys have been all over it, and I appreciate you so very much and what you do and your support there. If you have not liked or subscribed to the page, like the video, subscribe to the page, tell other people about it. I think I'm going to start making a more concerted effort to get more subscribers, and the reason isn't because people always say it's a selfish reason. It's not a selfish reason, folks. It's because we do engage in discussions like this, and I think that if more people are in tune and able to listen and have access to discussions like this, we won't see what we do today with the political cowardice that we see in our news media today. The more people that are informed, the better off that this country is going to be. Again, everybody on the panel today, thank you for coming and participating today and sharing your input. So God bless you. We'll see you Tuesday.
Thank you,
I haven't decided. And Ed, don't forget to friend me on Facebook, or I'm going to track you down.
Okay.
What happened, man? What happened to the 4-hour show?
It fell apart when my stomach started to grumble, and I got to go to church here shortly. So I got to end
okay.
to church.
I'm just kidding.
Just okay. We'll see y'all next week.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one. Stay safe. Be blessed.